What if the man cleaning your office floors was smarter than everyone in the boardroom? A powerful CEO was in the middle of an important meeting when he suddenly heard something unbelievable in the hallway: a janitor speaking perfect French on the phone. The CEO rushed outside and demanded, "Where did you learn that language?" The janitor looked down and whispered, "I speak 9 languages, sir." The entire room burst into laughter until he proved it in Spanish, German, Arabic, and Japanese. Then the truth came out. "I used to be a translator, but no one would hire me because of how I look," the janitor said. The CEO froze. What he did next shocked the entire company and changed one man's life forever. Stay till the end, because this story will make you question how many hidden geniuses you walk past every day without even noticing. This is not just a story about languages. It's a story about respect, injustice, and a miracle that happened in one single moment. And the ending will leave you speechless. Welcome to Heroic Stories Hub, where ordinary people reveal extraordinary courage. Here, you'll hear stories that touch your heart and open your eyes. Stories of hidden heroes, silent struggles, and life-changing moments. If you love powerful stories with deep meaning, you are in the right place. This is Heroic Stories Hub, where every story has a lesson and every voice matters. Shock rippled through the executive floor like a sudden earthquake when the CEO heard the janitor speak perfect French outside the boardroom door. The voice was calm, smooth, and confident. It did not sound like someone who cleaned floors for a living. It sounded like a trained diplomat. "Oui, je comprends parfaitement. Nous devons attendre jusqu'à demain matin," the voice said clearly. Inside the glass-walled boardroom, 12 executives froze mid-discussion. Mr. Daniel Wright, the powerful CEO of Wright Global Tech, stopped speaking in the middle of a sentence. His hand was still raised in the air, pointing at a digital chart on the screen. "What was that?" one board member whispered. Mr. Wright slowly turned his head toward the door. His eyes narrowed as he listened carefully. The voice continued outside. "Merci beaucoup pour votre patience. Je vous rappellerai plus tard." Then there was the sound of a mop bucket rolling across the floor. The CEO stood up from his leather chair. Did the janitor just speak French?" an executive asked. "That sounded better than my college professor," another muttered. Mr. Wright walked toward the door with long, firm steps. He opened it and saw Marcus, the black janitor, standing in the hallway with a mop in one hand and a phone in the other. Marcus was wearing his blue uniform, slightly faded from years of washing. His name tag read, Marcus. Marcus quickly ended the call when he saw the CEO. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to disturb your meeting," Marcus said quietly. Mr. Wright stared at him. "You were speaking French," he said slowly. Marcus hesitated. His fingers tightened around the mop handle. "Yes, sir," he replied. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" the CEO asked. Marcus looked down at the floor. "In college." A board member stepped closer to the door. "College," he repeated, laughing mockingly. "You expect us to believe that a janitor went to college and speaks French like a native?" A few quiet chuckles followed. Marcus's face burned with shame. "I did go to college," Marcus said, trying to stay calm. Mr. Wright crossed his arms. "What college?" "Howard University, sir." The laughter stopped for a moment. Another executive whispered loudly, "You don't look like a graduate student." Marcus swallowed hard. Just then his phone rang again. He glanced at the screen nervously. "I'm sorry, sir, it's important." Mr. Wright raised an eyebrow. "Go on, answer it." Marcus lifted the phone to his ear. Sí, mamá, estoy trabajando ahora. Te llamo luego, ¿sí? The boardroom exploded with murmurs. He's speaking Spanish now, someone gasped. Mr. Wright stepped closer. You speak Spanish too? Yes, sir. How many languages do you speak? The CEO demanded. Marcus hesitated. His chest rose and fell quickly. 9, he said softly. The boardroom burst into laughter. 9 languages? One man said. What's next? 10? This is ridiculous, another added. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I'm not joking, he said, his voice shaking. Mr. Wright raised a hand, stopping the laughter. Then prove it, right now. Marcus nodded slowly. He straightened his back and spoke again, this time in German. Ich kann Ihnen beweisen, dass ich mehrere Sprachen spreche. The executive stared. Then Marcus switched to Arabic. أنا أستطيع التحدث بعدة لغات بطلاقة. More gasps filled the room. Next came Mandarin. 我可以流利地说多种语言. Then Italian. Parlo molte lingue con grande rispetto. Portuguese followed. Eu trabalhei como tradutor por muitos años. Then Japanese. 私は長い間翻訳者として働いていました. No one laughed now. A pen fell from someone's hand and hit the floor. The CEO's mouth was slightly open. Why are you cleaning floors? The CEO said slowly. Marcus looked down at his shoes. Because this is the only job that would take me, he quietly answered. The words hung in the air like heavy smoke. A woman on the board whispered, That's impossible. It's not, Marcus replied. He took a shaky breath. Every interview I went to, they saw my skin before they saw my skills. Another executive shifted in his chair. One company told me I made their clients uncomfortable, Marcus continued. So I took this job, not because I wanted to clean floors, but because my children needed food. His eyes filled with tears. I talk to my old friends in other countries sometimes. It reminds me who I used to be. Mr. Wright felt something twist in his chest. The boardroom that once felt powerful now felt small. You mean to tell me that a man who speaks 9 languages has been invisible in my company for 3 years? The CEO slowly said. Marcus did not answer. He simply nodded. The CEO turned to the board. We walk past him every day, and we never asked his name. Silence filled the room again. Marcus tightened his grip on the mop. I didn't come here to cause trouble, he whispered. Mr. Wright looked at him with new eyes. You didn't cause trouble. You exposed it. Marcus lifted his head slowly. For the first time since he started cleaning those halls, someone was truly looking at him, not as a janitor, but as a human being with a powerful mind. And in that moment, everything was about to change. The room felt heavier than ever, as if the air itself had turned into stone. Mr. Wright slowly lowered himself back into his chair, but his eyes never left Marcus. So tell us, the CEO said quietly, how did a man like you end up here? Marcus hesitated. His hands were shaking. I don't usually talk about it, he said. You will now, one board member said softly. Marcus took a deep breath. I used to work as a translator for an international shipping company, he began. The board leaned forward. I translated contracts, helped with meetings, and traveled to different countries, France, Brazil, Japan, Morocco. What happened? Mr. Wright asked. The company closed during an economic crisis, Marcus replied. A quiet murmur passed through the room. I lost everything in 1 month, Marcus continued. My job, my savings, my apartment. His shoulders slumped. I had 2 children in school and a wife who was sick. I couldn't wait for the perfect job. I had to take whatever came. One board member whispered, "That could happen to anyone." Marcus nodded. I applied to over 100 companies, translation offices, hotels, airlines, government agencies. And, the CEO asked. And no one called me back, Marcus said. Heartbroken. A woman on the board frowned. They looked at my resume and smiled. Then they saw me in person and everything changed. "What do you mean?" Mr. Wright asked. They asked strange questions. "Can you really speak these languages? Where did you learn them? Will customers understand you?" The board members shifted uncomfortably, ashamed. One man even laughed and said, "You should work in cleaning. At least it's honest work." A sharp silence cut through the room. Mr. Wright clenched his jaw. "So, I did," Marcus said quietly. "I applied for cleaning jobs, and this company was the first to call me back." Resigned. "You never told anyone about your skills?" an executive asked. Gassad smile. "I tried once. My supervisor said, 'Just do your job and stop dreaming.'" Discouraged. Several board members looked down at the table. Guilty. "After that, I kept quiet," Marcus said. "I spoke my languages only on the phone when I thought no one was listening." Lonely. Mr. Wright's voice was low. "And all this time you were walking past our international department." Regret. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied. Quiet pain. The CEO stood up and walked slowly across the room. Heavy steps. "We pay thousands of dollars every month for translators, and you were mopping floors." Angry and ashamed. One board member raised a hand. "But this isn't about money, it's about image. Our clients expect—" Mr. Wright turned sharply. "Expect what?" Silence. Fearful pause. "Say it," the CEO demanded. The board member swallowed. "They expect someone who looks professional." Uncomfortable. Marcus flinched. Wounded. Mr. Wright slammed his palm on the table. Furious. "He looks professional," the CEO said. "We made him invisible." Strong accusation. Marcus's eyes filled with tears, crying softly. "I never wanted pity," Marcus whispered. "I just wanted a chance." Humble pain. The CEO softened his voice. "And you never got one." Regret. "No," Marcus said. "Only closed doors." Heartbroken. A board member spoke quietly. "Why didn't you quit?" Curious. Marcus looked up. "Because my son asked me one night if we would lose our home. I promised him we wouldn't." Emotional. His voice cracked. Trembling voice. "So every night I cleaned floors and practiced languages in my head." Determined. The room was silent again. Deep silence. "I listened to foreign radio stations while pushing my mop, French news, Spanish music, Japanese podcasts." Strong will. One executive wiped her eyes, crying softly. "I kept telling myself, one day someone will hear me." Hopeful. Mr. Wright's chest tightened. Emotional impact. "And yesterday," Marcus said, "you heard me by accident." Bittersweet. The CEO nodded slowly. Realization. A long pause followed. Heavy silence. Then Mr. Wright spoke. "Do you know how many deals we lost last year because of language problems?" Serious. Marcus shook his head. Uncertain. "Millions of dollars," the CEO said, "and millions of chances to treat people better." Regret. He turned to the board. "We failed him." Strong confession. No one argued. Accepting silence. Mr. Wright walked closer to Marcus. "You should have been in that conference room years ago." Sincere. Marcus stepped back slightly. Nervous. "I don't belong there," he said. Low self-worth. "Yes, you do," the CEO replied firmly, confident and strong. Marcus shook his head. I don't even have a suit. Embarrassed. A few board members gave weak smiles. Sad amusement. You will, Mr. Wright said, and an office. Decisive. Marcus blinked. Shocked. I don't want charity, Marcus said quickly. Defensive. This isn't charity, the CEO answered. This is justice. Powerful tone. Marcus's breathing became uneven, overwhelmed. I spent years thinking something was wrong with me, Marcus whispered. Broken heart. Mr. Wright looked at him deeply. Nothing was wrong with you. Something was wrong with us. Humble admission. Tears rolled down Marcus's cheeks, crying openly. For the first time, Marcus said, I feel seen. Emotional relief. The boardroom that once judged him now respected him. Power shift. And in that moment, the story was no longer about a janitor who spoke 9 languages. It became the story of a man who was finally heard. The next morning, the entire company received an urgent message. All staff must attend a general meeting in the main hall. Tense anticipation. Whispers filled the corridors as employees walked toward the large conference hall. Curious murmurs. Some thought layoffs were coming. Others believed a new project was being announced. No one expected what was about to happen. Uneasy feeling. Marcus stood near the back of the hall, still wearing his blue janitor uniform. His hands were cold and sweaty, nervous. He almost didn't come. What if they fire me for talking in the hallway, he thought, fearful. But his supervisor had ordered him to attend, so he stood quietly, trying not to be noticed. Invisible feeling. The room filled with hundreds of employees. Crowded silence. Then Mr. Wright walked onto the stage. He did not look like the confident CEO everyone knew. His face was serious, heavy, serious tone. He waited until the room became completely silent. Dead silence. Yesterday, Mr. Wright began, I learned something that changed the way I see this company. Heavy voice. People leaned forward in their seats, focused attention. I discovered that we hired a man with rare talent, and we made him invisible, ashamed. Gasps moved through the room, shocked murmurs. Mr. Wright continued, we judged him by his uniform instead of his ability. Regret. The room felt uncomfortable, uneasy silence. Marcus, the CEO called out, please come forward, firm but kind. Marcus froze, panic. People turned around to look at him, curious stares. His heart began pounding in his chest, racing heart. Slowly, he stepped forward, walking past rows of employees who had never noticed him before. Trembling walk. Every step felt heavy, emotional weight. When Marcus reached the stage, he kept his eyes on the floor. Shame. Mr. Wright placed a hand on his shoulder, supportive. This man speaks 9 languages, the CEO said, proud declaration. The hall exploded in shocked whispers. 9 languages? Someone said, disbelief. He's our janitor, another whispered, confused. Marcus wanted to disappear, overwhelmed. For 3 years, Mr. Wright continued, we paid outside translators while ignoring the one standing in our halls every night, angry with himself. Silence filled the room again, shocked silence. This is not Marcus's failure, the CEO said. This is ours. Strong confession. Marcus lifted his head slowly, hopeful. Mr. Wright turned to Marcus. Marcus, I owe you an apology. Sincere. The room gasped, surprised. I saw your uniform before I saw your mind, the CEO said, ashamed. Tears formed in Marcus's eyes, crying softly. For years I felt invisible, Marcus whispered, broken voice. Mr. Wright nodded. Not anymore. Confident and strong. He turned back to the audience. Effective today, Marcus is our new International Communications Manager. Powerful announcement. The room exploded, shocked silence. Some people clapped, others stared in disbelief, mixed reactions. Marcus covered his mouth with both hands, overwhelmed. I don't understand, he said, trembling voice. You will, the CEO replied. You will have an office, a team, and the salary you deserve. Firm promise. Marcus's knees felt weak, emotional collapse. Tears rolled down his face, crying openly. I cleaned these floors thinking I would never be seen, he said, emotional pain. Mr. Wright looked at him. We were blind, but not anymore. Humble. The crowd began clapping louder, growing applause. One employee stood up, then another. Soon the entire hall was on its feet, standing ovation. Marcus stood frozen as the applause washed over him, shocked gratitude. After the meeting, employees surrounded him. I had no idea, one said, amazed. You deserve this, another added, supportive. Marcus could only nod, speechless. That same day, he was given a temporary office, a desk, a computer, a phone, new beginning. He sat in the chair and stared at the walls, disbelief. For the first time in years, he was not holding a mop, emotional shift. A week later, Marcus walked into the building wearing a suit for the first time, confident but nervous. Some people didn't recognize him, surprised. He entered a meeting with international clients from France and Japan, focused. When he spoke, the room fell silent, respectful silence. He translated with confidence and calm, confident and strong. The clients smiled, impressed. You understand us perfectly, one said, grateful. Marcus felt something rise inside him, pride. Business deals improved, communication became smooth, profits grew. One afternoon, a young janitor stopped Marcus in the hallway. Sir, the young man said, how did you get here? Hopeful. Marcus looked at the mop in the young man's hand and felt his chest tighten. Empathy. I never changed, Marcus said gently. Someone finally listened. Calm pride. The young man smiled, inspired. Later that day, Mr. Wright called Marcus into his office. You changed this company, the CEO said, grateful. No, Marcus replied. You did. You chose to see me, humble. Mr. Wright nodded. I learned something important, reflective. What? Marcus asked. Leadership is not about titles. It's about recognizing people. Strong message. Months passed. The company introduced a new rule. Talent first, title second. Powerful change. Employees were encouraged to share their skills. Openness. Mechanics became designers. Assistants became managers. Transformation. Respect replaced judgment. Unity. One evening, Marcus stayed late in the building. He walked past the hallway where everything had started. Memory. He heard another janitor speaking on the phone in a foreign language. Surprised. He smiled. Warm emotion. He walked over. What language is that? He asked. Friendly. Swahili, the janitor replied. Proud. Marcus nodded. Don't hide it. Encouraging. The man looked confused, uncertain. Your voice matters, Marcus said, confident and strong. Marcus looked around the building. The walls were the same, the floors were the same, but the hearts inside had changed. Peaceful realization. And Mr. Wright learned the greatest lesson of his life. Never judge a person by their uniform, because brilliance can be hidden behind silence and genius can be hidden behind a mop. Powerful ending.